What have you been up to?
Good. I mean, since we got done with nationals, I've just been working a lot and kind of finishing out the semester here. So
Yeah. So did you have to re-enroll? Like, were you
yes,
enrolled at all? I guess like, were you enrolled?
no, I had to re-enroll. So I wasn't enrolled in the fall, but I mean, when we decided to come back in late January, yes, I had to re-enroll 12 credits to be eligible.
You had to re-enroll 12 credits.
Yeah, I had to have a full schedule. So I re-enrolled in like late January. I'm sure it was like one of the last days I possibly could have. And so we got that done. And then, yeah, it was kind of a crazy turnaround. I mean, it all happened within like a couple days. So
Yeah. Um, why? I guess start with that. Like what were you doing? I guess what were you doing before that? So the first half, were you on staff?
yes, I was on staff. Got done in 2024. And then the whole idea was I was going to start coaching. Then after that, they wanted to keep me on, local guy. I wanted to continue to help with the UNK program any way that I could. So, yeah, I got on staff this last year, and then I was actually going to events with them. I went to a couple tournaments. I went to national duels and stuff. A couple away duels. I was here for every duel, and I was going into practice probably once or twice a week. So we were doing all that, and then kind of when it got down to the nitty gritty was that St. Cloud duel. So St. Cloud comes to town; they're number one in the nation, um, and I mean we know we had a pretty good team, and
Hmm.
we knew we could compete for a team title before that. But St. Cloud comes to town, and we lose to them by 1 point. And our starting 125 pounder, Zach Areta, was out. So we lose to them by 1 point. And then, we realize how close we are. So we start looking at any place we can get better or any place that we can get just a little bit ahead. And so then, like, they could start thinking outside the box. And Dalton texted me so the duel was on Saturday. He texted me on that Sunday. And he's like, hey, I've been thinking outside the box. Like, what are the odds that you would come back and wrestle for the postseason? And I I remember the first thing that I looked at it, I was like, man, I don't know about this. I've been wrestling like once a week. I wasn't in great shape. I mean, I was doing 24-year-old guy or 24-year-old stuff. I
Mhm.
was going to work every day. I'd maybe have a couple drinks on the weekend, and I was not in great shape. But he sent me that text, and I kind of thought about it for a while, and I said, well, I'll have a conversation with you about it. Um, and then we did, and I mean, it was pretty hard to say no. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And yeah, the rest was history. But
Dang, how long did that conversation last? Like when by the time he texted you, and then you went in and had that conversation, like I'm just like, what's going through your mind? Like I'm just imagining getting this text and going like, huh, yeah, okay.
and that's exactly what my reaction was. That's exactly what my first reaction was. But um, the longer I sat and thought about it before I talked to him, I was like, I'm probably gonna do it. Um, but when I walked away from it, I mean, after 2024, I was pretty content with my career, kind of just ready to be done and start working full time. But then I spent months just working, and I was like, there's not a lot of excitement after you get done with college sports. I was wrestling and practice every day for 4 or 5 years in college and going to tournaments. I mean, you're fighting dudes every day. That's what you get to do. And then I'm in construction, so I go to a blue collar trade, and it's just not as exciting. So
Mhm.
doing that for months gave me a lot of perspective. And when this opportunity popped back up, I thought about like all my old buddies that I wrestled with that have told me so many times. They're like, gosh, I wish I had one more chance. I wish I could have
Mhm.
done this or that. And I was like, yeah, I'd be stupid to not do it, not take advantage of it, especially on a national championship caliber team.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just knew that I would regret it, and you know 5-10 years down the road if I didn't take the opportunity. So yeah, we pulled the trigger and it worked out. So
Yeah. Why didn't you? First off, like, who did you know you had like? Did you only have half a year of eligibility, or like, how did you know that?
I actually think I could have had the full year of eligibility.
Really? Okay.
Because it was that COVID year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think you can do like a half season. So I could have taken the first semester off any of those years, but you can't do two in a row, I don't think. And I never did a half season. Even the year before, I didn't wrestle the full first half of the year, but I wrestled a couple matches. Um, so I knew it checked out in that way. But yeah, it was just that COVID year that I never used. And obviously, you have to use it right away. You can't come back and use it later. So
Why didn't you go right away? I guess like, were I guess my question is, what made you not want to go back? Because you could have wrestled the whole year if you wanted. Why were you just done at the end of nationals last year? Because did you know you had it at that point?
yeah, I knew I could have came back. I don't know. I wrestled for 5 years in college. I mean, it was long and hard, and I mean, I took some beatings. Sometimes I had some injuries and stuff, and that's just a grind. That's a long time to wrestle. Um, so I mean, that was part of it. I I don't know. I always just I kind of always had perspective. Like I knew wrestling wasn't everything for me in life. Like my family's got a company here in Kearney, a construction business. So that was part of it too. We were getting kind of more serious about that. So I wanted to take a bigger role in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I couldn't do that if I wrestled the full year. There's just a couple different reasons. Most of it was I was just kind of ready to step away. I was content with my career, At that time, I was a three-time All-American, and I had made the national finals. So I was like, I mean, not completely content, but I was good enough to step away from it,
Mm-hmm.
I was happy with what I'd done. So I was kind of just ready to be done and kind of start coaching. So
Yeah. What credits? I'm curious what credits you took. What'd you enroll in when you decided to go back?
they're mostly like coaching classes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had a 4-year degree like a year and a half ago. And then I
No
was
kidding.
yeah, so then I kind of like bounced around with some different classes. I actually started uh, like a full undergraduate again, like a second undergraduate.
No kidding.
So then I could kind of just do whatever I wanted at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite the
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, because I mean, you're still taking the classes. Like, it's not like you could just bow out right now. I mean, I guess you probably could, I guess, if you wanted to. If you wanted to just be like, nah, I'm done, you could,
Yeah,
technically.
I think they kind of have some rules against that, like as far as dropping the classes go. Um, I think that's kind of a no-no. I think they pull
Gotcha.
scholarships and stuff if you drop classes before. I don't know. Yeah.
Gotcha.
NCAA, all those
Yeah.
rules and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Dang. So, I mean, what was the conversation like with who was starting at 149? Like what was that
Brady Collins.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
was that conversation like with Brady? I mean that did that play a role? That had to be a little somewhat difficult, I would think.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. Brady's a second year guy. Um, Even last year, I mean, we wrestled together a lot in practice. He's a good practice partner of mine, and part of the reason that I wanted to come back and coach was because of mostly like our 141 pounder Joey Arola, who's an All-American this year, and then Brady. They were both kind of guys that had came up underneath me as I had been the older guy and they had come into college. So both of those guys played a big part on why I even wanted to come back and coach, making that an even harder conversation. But Brady's he's a talented wrestler. He's from Colorado, a couple times state champ, and like I got all the faith in the world that he's going to do well and good things the next couple of years. He's just kind of young and maybe lacked a little bit of experience this year, but no, it was a very hard conversation to have. I mean, it was just a crappy situation, but at the end of the day, we got to put the best team on the mat that we possibly can. And it's nothing personal. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, um, Brady's a good kid, and I want to do everything I can to make him successful in the next couple of years. But yeah, it's you just got to put the best team on the mat at the end of the day. The best team you possibly can. You look at, we're just Division II, but you look at some of the Division I teams, like, man, they'll put anybody on the mat that they think can win. And it's just at the end of the day, like I said, you gotta do what's best for the team. So.
Yeah. Ultimately, you're right. What were you? I'm curious. What were you weighing at? Like, were you even near 149?
Kind of. I was probably just right under 165. I've been lifting a lot, eating everything I wanted to. So It was actually a pretty good little spot because I felt big and strong, but I still had to lose some weight, but it fell off me pretty quick. So
yeah,
it wasn't horrible.
Yeah. What was the I was curious what the mindset was going into like this national tournament as opposed to like, obviously the goal is still the same, but was this like almost a completely different experience because you didn't have the whole year, the training, the mindset of I'm out here, I'm going to win a national title. That's what my goal is from day one. You were just were you just grateful to be here? I guess I'm just kind of curious what that was like to even be out there competing at the national tournament.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It was kind of like just like extra, like it was just kind of like a bonus. Like I said earlier, like I was content with my career coming off my 5th year. So I came back this year, and then it was just like, we'll see what we can do. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of personal aspirations. Like I was there for a team title, and it was freeing. That thought was freeing for my wrestling. Like it made me wrestle with a lot less stress. I wasn't there for myself. Like I was kind of just, like I said, I thought of it as like extra. Just, I am lucky to be there. Not a lot of people get this opportunity, and I felt like I was like, I'm not even supposed to be here really. So it definitely freed up my wrestling and kind of relaxed me for sure. But it was, just a lot of gratitude and happiness to be there, really. So
yeah. Did you surprise yourself by making the finals again? Like, what was your expectation even,
There was no expectation, it's hard to have expectation in that situation. It's like I said, I was probably going to practice once a week before we had decided that I was going to come back. So it was like, we're going to see what we can do. But as far as expectations goes, I expected us to win nationals as a team.
Yeah.
other than that, it was like, I hope I can do the best that I can. I hope I don't, completely gas out on the mat. But no, I didn't go in with a lot of expectations. But national finals probably exceeded them. So.
Yeah, this is just, I guess, just it's unique, because of like that process of your ultimate goal was to be there and win a national title for your team, and like whatever else happened was just the cherry on top, So it's kind of interesting to see what what you were thinking, what you were feeling. Like it seemed like you went in there and was just like, let's let it fly and see where we end up, and
Yeah, that's almost exactly what it was. I think one of the announcers was talking about before my match. Somebody told me about this. They were talking about like, yeah, I lost my fantasy league, so I had to enter a college open, and that's what it was like. It was just kind of like, oh, let's see what we can do, like we'll try our best and see what we can do. But no, it turned out about as good as I could have expected. Obviously as a team we did amazing, and I look at my own performance. It sucks to get so close and not quite accomplish that goal that I've obviously set for, my entire life. But it's hard to walk away from that and not be happy. So.
Yeah, definitely. When you have no expectation at all at the beginning of the year, when the season starts, you're like, all right, I'm here for the guys. I'm going to coach them. And then next thing you know, you find yourself in the national finals. competing in the national finals. Yeah, there's probably not much to complain about, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
who was the first person you told, when you decided to come back? I mean, aside from like if you told like Coach Jensen and Sorensen and stuff, but was there
Yeah.
like who was the first person?
My dad was first. Uh, he's also my boss.
Oh,
So I kind of had to clear that with him. I was like, hey, Coach Jensen wants me to do this thing. What do you think about this? And you have to know my dad. His two passions in life are work and wrestling. So you can imagine it was kind of like he was getting pulled from both sides. But he was like, man, his first thing he said was, I don't know if you can get in good enough shape. I kind of agreed with him, but I was like, oh, we'll see what we can do. But he was probably the first guy I told, and then I called some of my old teammates like Matt Malcolm and Austin Eldridge and some of those guys, and they were all thrilled. So
yeah.
It was definitely a surreal moment. It was like I had some people that were super happy for me. Some people were like, man, what are your expectations? Because those guys are still good. They're like, they're still good. You're gonna have to go out there and wrestle. And I was like, I know, but we'll figure it out when we get out there. So
Yeah. Your dad was the first. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that he's your boss. I mean, he's probably like, well, we got this job we got to do, and now I'm down a man.
that's exactly how it went. He was like, man, we got work to do, but I do like wrestling. So
Well, were you pretty busy like during the winter though? I mean, typically that's, the slower period for construction, but I mean, is that typical for you though?
yeah, we slow way down during the winter, so it actually worked out pretty well. That whole month of February, we had snow on the ground, so we couldn't do a whole lot anyways. So that worked out well. Definitely played into one of the factors. There were just too many things pointing to it that I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
That was one of them. So
Yeah. Speaking of Malcolm, he told me this story, as awesome as this story is and what people are, they're going to see you as a wrestler, they're also going to know you from this. I think you were on like a TV show. All right. And so like people are going to recognize you from this TV show, right? Apparently you like went into this Foot Locker or something and the manager was being talked to by Marshawn Lynch and they were going to kick your, they were like going to kick your ass or something.
yeah, he basically it was so it was a Thursday night football like ad for Foot Locker, like through the NFL, and we were in Las Vegas for the Cliff Keen Open that year, and we were walking through this Foot Locker. I think it was after the tournament, and yeah, the manager came up to me. Well, I guess all of us, and he kind of asked us, you guys play a sport? We're like, yeah, we're wrestlers, and he's like, I'll body slam all you guys. And little did we know that he was on the mic with Marshawn, and so he was no bigger than me, and I was like, let's do it then. We're at the Foot Locker in Las Vegas. And so I was like, let's do it. And then he's like, oh no, we're good. And then so like that was it. We didn't get any other word from anybody else. That was it. We left. And then I kid you not, we were watching Thursday Night Football that week. And this commercial pops up and they start showing the store, and I'm like, oh my God, I've seen that store before. I'm like, why does it look so familiar? And then it gets a little further in, and I was like, I talked to that guy because he did it to a couple different people. And then I was like, oh my God, that's me. Thursday Night Football. I had no clue at all before that. They didn't make me sign a waiver. I didn't get to meet Marshawn or anything. Like I just figured it out because we were watching football on Thursday. It was nuts.
Oh, that's kind of a bummer. You didn't even get to meet Marshawn.
I don't know.
That's kind of shitty, but
I wish he would have said it to my face. Oh, I'm just kidding. He would look.
That's funny. Yeah. Malcolm said that you like, yeah, you were like, okay then, like you were kind of stepping up to him, like, all right, let's do it, like almost in a half serious manner, like, like you were
I would
ready.
have wrestled him right there in the store, but I mean, like I said, he wasn't any bigger than I was. But yeah, it was quite the deal. That was like my 5 minutes of fame for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Did anyone else like recognize you and like say that they saw you in this commercial?
Oh yeah, it was a big deal. It got
Really?
shared all over Facebook and stuff, and it was a pretty big deal at the time. So yeah, everybody was sending it to me. They're like, "Is this you?" Yeah. So,
Did you get anything from Foot Locker that day or
I don't think so.
no?
No, I think we walked out after that, and then I like turned to the other guys, and I was like, "Did you hear what that guy was saying to me? It's so weird." And they're like, "No," kind of blew me off. No, I don't know. Whatever. That was it.
Wow.
So it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, what was that Cliff Keen like? I think you guys were you the only Division two team that went out there? I mean, did you feel, I guess, sort of like an underdog or, like you had a chip on your shoulder because you were a D2 team going up at the Cliff Keen? I mean, that's probably it might be the toughest college tournament right now, you know?
Yeah, I think there was one other non-Division One team. It was like Western Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
As far as the wrestling went, like we would, I mean, we'd compete some of those matches. We would, like, I think most of us beat. I think most of us won at least one or two matches. I think I beat a Hofstra kid, maybe a Citadel kid. But yeah, there was a little bit of chip on our shoulder. We didn't go those last couple of years. I wish I could go back and wrestle when I was like, in my last couple of years, because I think I personally, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but individually, I think I gave probably everybody a little bit too much respect, especially in my younger years. I looked at it differently. I probably wrestled a singlet more than I wrestled a person. So I would like to go back and wrestle those when I was, a junior and senior. But as far as a chip on my shoulder, I think maybe a little bit, but I think there definitely could have been more of one. I remember wrestling. I think I wrestled Dylan D'Amelio, took him down twice, and then kind of just wrestled like a wiener the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just guys that I felt like I couldn't beat, but looking back, like I should have wrestled them harder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, you guys also wrestled Nebraska at least once when you were in school.
yeah,
Yeah, you weren't wrestling this past year when you wrestled them, but yeah, you guys came here and wrestled. Gosh, I think was it North Dakota? No, it was you guys, Nebraska, and I thought there was another team. I thought it was a
Augustana,
try.
right?
Yeah. This year it was Augustana for sure.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, I remember you guys wrestled here too. Maybe it was just you two.
Yeah, when the 1 year I wrestled Nebraska, it's just us in Nebraska.
Okay. Yeah, because I think Malcolm wrestled that year and won.
Yeah, I don't remember that year. I remember 1 year I wrestled Isaiah White, I think. But I don't remember that
I think
year.
your heavyweight won too.
He won this year. We won a couple matches this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun experience.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I mean, did you probably grew up a Husker fan, I'm assuming, and so to wrestle in Lincoln in the Devaney Center, sure
Yeah.
you're wearing maybe not the colors of Huskers, but still,
Right. No, I grew up watching Jordan Burroughs. I remember as a kid going to Devaney and watching Jordan Burroughs wrestle. So I definitely did grow up a Husker fan. When I got to college, it was a little bit different, I guess, just because I was a UNK guy through and through.
Yeah.
But no, it was a cool experience. It's always cool when you get to go wrestle a top 10 team in Division One.
Yeah.
Nothing exposes your weaknesses like that, and I mean anything that you need to work on is going to be brought to light pretty quick. So it was always a cool experience to wrestle those guys and kind of see where we were at. And I mean, it's a bigger stage than what we're used to, I guess, especially at home. So it was always a cool experience to go do stuff like that.
Yeah. Was the like mindset any different, when you were going and wrestling at like the Cliff Keen or when you wrestled Nebraska versus like, when you did wrestle like Augustana or St. Cloud, you know, I mean, and the goal is obviously still the same, right? To win, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the goal doesn't change, but I think that your mindset probably shifts just a little bit more to like. I mean, when we're wrestling a Division two foe like Augustana or somebody like that, like I always feel like we're supposed to win. You
Hmm.
know, if it's a Division one team like Nebraska, I mean, you're looking at a top 10 Division one team every year. We're not supposed to win. So then, I mean, you just look at it differently. Like, well, if I'm not supposed to win, I got nothing to lose.
Hmm.
So that's definitely more of a freeing feeling, and you shouldn't really be as nervous about that sort of stuff. But yeah, I always felt a little bit more free when I wrestled teams like that, I guess. And I also, when I wrestled Nebraska, I still think it was like my sophomore year, so I was probably still kind of a little bit of a wiener. But
Hmm. Yeah.
I wish I could go back and wrestle those when I was like a junior, senior, fifth, sixth year. But
Yeah. What made that change, or what, like, when did you start to realize, like, hey, I'm wrestling the singlet, not the guy. I need to, like, change my mindset. Did something click, or did someone say something to you, one of the coaches, or did you just start to get more confident? Like, what kind of flipped that switch?
yeah, I kind of did just get more confident, I guess. I think it changed probably my second to last year, maybe. I mean, I had a realization that I felt like I was wrestling so much better in practice than I did in competition. So I like had to do kind of a deep dive on that and kind of go soul searching a little bit and realize why that was. Um, and I honestly, at the end of the day, I think I cared too much. You know, I cared too much to lose, instead of just kind of going out there and doing what I quite literally am trained to do.
Hmm.
And I realized that, yeah, like I said, probably one of the last couple of years of college, and um, I mean, it definitely made a huge change in my wrestling. I think um, I stayed way more relaxed. I think I started wrestling at a much higher level, and I didn't tense up as much. It's kind of just like free flowing, and I mean, I made my wrestling go to quite a bit higher level, in my opinion. So that
Yeah.
was that was kind of a big jump in my career.
Yeah. Um, are you, I guess, to you, as like a person and growing up, are you from Kearney originally?
Yes, I was born in Kearney.
Okay. Was there any chance that you were going to go somewhere else other than UNK? Just because, like, you grew up in the same town, now you're going to go to college, like, that can get a little redundant, little blasé. It's the same thing, different, Like, did you ever try or look at maybe going somewhere else just to get something new?
Yeah, I went on some visits, and I mean, I was communicating with some other coaches and stuff too. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, Coach Jensen and Coach Sorensen have been coaching me since I was probably, I don't know, sixth grade maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had a pretty good relationship built with them. And then some other things fell through with those other programs. I tore my ACL when I was a junior the week after state. That kind of had a bit to do with it too, because some of those other coaches kind of just dropped me. Um, so then, I mean, as soon as I saw that, it was kind of obvious. The stars kind of aligned, and um, being from Kearney and wrestling for Kearney High, uh, pretty much all my coaches were UNK alumni. So it was almost like a little bit of a legacy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all those guys went there, and I mean, I looked up to all them a lot, and I mean, it just made too much sense not to. You know,
Yeah.
I I I didn't really have any desire. I remember going on my visit to UNK, um, and I had already gone on a couple other visits, but going on to my visit at UNK, halfway through the visit, like I told my mom, I was like, I don't even need to go anywhere else. Like this feels totally right. And I mean, yeah, I committed as a junior, so I didn't even wait till my senior year to make a decision.
Yeah.
But
Did you did you tell your parents, like, all right, I'm going to limit you to 2 visits a week. Right now, I'm in college now. All right, you can't just keep coming around. You can't just come around here now. Okay, like,
Yeah.
did you have to set a line?
We had our no, we had plenty good boundaries, I guess. They live kind of out of town, so I mean, it's 10 or 15 minutes to get to their place, and you know, they had plenty good boundaries. It wasn't like a lot of things changed for me when I got to college. It wasn't like I was just living the same life that I was in high school. You
Yeah.
know, I was living on campus or close to campus, and I mean, my life was kind of wrestling at that point, and it was just completely changed. It was completely different. I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me that. They say, "Why didn't you ever leave or do something different?" And
Hmm.
I mean, wrestling was my life at that time at that point in my life. So I I couldn't pass up the best Division II team in the nation in my backyard.
Hmm.
So it was. I mean, it was a pretty easy choice, and I obviously don't regret it a bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I was kind of trying to see what kind of changed for you because I had a guy on. This was probably a couple years ago, but he lived in Decorah, Iowa, and he went to Luther and wrestled there. Luther is a D3 school, and it's in Decorah. So he did the same thing. He just went right down the road, literally, to school, and he's like, it was, yeah, his life completely changed too. Just because his parents were 5 minutes away, it didn't mean that his life wasn't altered in some way. So I was just curious, yeah, how your life. Did sort of change. Um, did you go home at all? Really?
oh yeah, I went home. I mean, not a ton, probably, especially
Yeah.
when I was 18 or 19, just fresh out of the house. Like,
Yeah.
I'd probably go home once a week. But um, like I said, we had good boundaries, and I had to go live a little bit right when I got out of
Right.
high school. I moved in with I don't know, four of my other buddies that wrestled for UNK too.
Hmm.
I mean, a couple of them went to high school with me, and they were on the same team in high school and stuff. So yeah, it was definitely different. Um,
Right. Right.
in Kearney, it's like all of campus and pretty much everybody that goes to school there all live within, like, I don't know, 10-block radius probably.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's almost its own little town right here. I'd go to the closest grocery store that's a couple blocks away from that, and
Hmm.
I didn't really leave that little block that whole, like, first year of college. So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So you still even though you grew up there, you still were able to get your college experience. It sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah, absolutely. It
Nice.
was yeah, it was a good change for sure. So
Yeah. Um, did you partially go there because did you want to get into construction? Like, was that kind of what you wanted to do? Because that's what you majored in, right? Construction management.
yeah, I mean, that had a little bit to do with it. Um, I mean, mostly because of the wrestling.
Yeah.
I we kind of I kind of knew what I wanted to do after college. Like, we kind of always had a plan to. We just started this construction company. I don't know, 2 years ago.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so we kind of always had that planned, but when I got closer to, like, the end of college, it kind of just came to fruition. But yeah, that definitely was kind of just a cherry on top, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, technically, you don't need a college degree to do what I'm doing. But
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah,
But was it interesting, like going and doing some of those construction management classes? Like, I'm not sure what the course work was like, but was it still interesting? And do you feel better equipped now, I guess, than you did 4 years ago or 5 years ago to be in construction?
yeah. I mean, somewhat. The best part about it was, I mean, they're pretty good about getting you around people in the industry, like, kind
Hmm.
of nearby. So, like, it was a pretty good networking thing. We'd have career fairs where I'd go meet with companies that work in the area, or pull guys from the area. So it was pretty good for networking and stuff. And I got to do. I mean, the other nice thing was I got to stick around and work construction in the area in the summertime,
Hmm.
um, which was also good just to stay kind of in the circle and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever worry about getting hurt? Doing construction, a summer job as, kind of strenuous and as construction can be sometimes.
Not really. It
Okay.
wasn't not when I was like 19, 20 years old.
Right. Yeah,
That's
true.
never really like the forefront of your thought when you're that age. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get hurt. I'm invincible. And then you get to like your mid-20s and you're like, oh, my body hurts every day of the week.
I guess the reason why I was asking was you said you tore your ACL a week after state. How did you do that your junior year?
So that's back when we had state duels was the week after state Nebraska. So
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
won a state title my junior year. The week after I tore my ACL at state duels.
Gotcha.
So I missed the next 6 months of training just from state duels. Yeah. So that was a pretty crappy time for sure. So
Yeah. I mean, when did it happen at state duels? Were you like in the first round or second round?
I think it was the second round.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was an automatic 6 months I was out recovering. And I mean, that's kind of the time when you make pretty big leaps, especially in high school. It's like your off-season training and your competitions and stuff. But I guess it all worked out.
Yeah. 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 I guess. Were you pretty devastated? Not that I like to ask, but when people go through an injury, I like to pick their brain a little bit about, what they felt because like you said, we think we're invincible, nothing's gonna happen to us. And then something happens like that. That's like, oh my gosh, I'm not invincible. I can get hurt and I am hurt, So were you like devastated? Did it affect you at all? Was the PT difficult? Like kind of all that encompassing stuff.
Yeah, I remember at first I thought it was a huge deal. There might have been some tears shed back in those days, but I think as I went along, I felt pretty good. I had good trainers and good physical therapists, and they kept reassuring me that like my knee would be better when I was done with physical therapy than it was before, and they were right.
Yeah.
They were right. I mean, it was way stronger than it was before, and I've never had an issue with that knee since that happened. So I just took physical therapy super serious. Did everything I needed to do to kind of just knock that out and get healthy again. And then I started wrestling on a knee brace and stuff, and I mean, it came back to me pretty quick. So I'm sure when I started wrestling back then, it probably was a little nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't really affect me too much. I guess that senior year, I felt pretty good all year. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like when you used to hear like ACL, I mean, your heart would stop. You're like, I'm done. Like this is like I don't know if I'm ever gonna be the same. Like, so it just we've come a long way, and where it doesn't seem like every ACL injury is different, but it doesn't it doesn't come across as it's an ACL. It's almost like a death sentence. Like I said before, 20 years ago, it was like ACL, man, they're never gonna be the same.
yeah, I've seen
So,
like it was like my PE teacher when I was in elementary school. He was probably 65, 70 years old. He showed me his knee. He had he had ACL surgery, and he had a scar from like the middle of his thigh down to the center of his shin.
holy shit.
So cut him way open, and
Yeah.
if that's what I would have thought the whole time, I'd be like, oh, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
don't fix it, leave me alone. So yeah, I can only imagine back then if you would have had to get a knee fixed up. But no, it didn't affect me a ton. I had other knee injuries later on in college and stuff. Like I ended up having both knees operated on, and I mean,
Really?
so one year it was in the middle of the season I had to get operated on, and that one actually really put. That one had a pretty big effect on me. That was my junior year. I had some meniscus taken out of my knee. in the middle of the year, and I mean, it was just so hard to come back confidently.
Mm-hmm.
I just had so many negative thoughts in my mind, and I ended up not placing that year. I lost in the blood round. But yeah, that one definitely had a way bigger impact on me than that ACL did. But
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask you about that because not only was the junior like it was difficult in that aspect, so I want to just ask you about that real quick. Your injury sounds it was a meniscus. So what happened? You said they removed part of it?
yeah, they cut out like 20% of it, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it was mid-January maybe, so it was like a
Wow.
rush to get back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I would have had just over, I think I had 6 weeks maybe before regionals. So it was rough. And then actually, I mean, it was crazy. Um, so I got hurt wrestling a guy from Western Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
Dean Noble. He's a dude that he's just like, you never know what to expect. He might like try to throw you on your head. He's just gonna bull rush you. And so I got hurt wrestling him, and he just wrestles really hard. And then so those 6 weeks go by, and I go to regionals. The first guy I draw in the first round was the guy that hurt me. So it was kind of like a full circle, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I had to come back in 6 weeks, and then I'm wrestling the guy that hurt me. I ended up losing the match. Came back and got third and qualified, but it was just, yeah, a lot of things didn't go right for me that year. So
Wow. Yeah, what a match, you know? I mean, you could go into it with two thoughts. One is like, yeah, you could be a little afraid, like, oh man, I might get hurt again. Or, you could go back in with like almost like blood in your eyes, where you're just gonna take this guy out because he hurt you.
yeah,
You know. But well, I was gonna ask also, so that was the year, your junior year. The D2 has sort of an unusual way to bracket, you know, where you like fell into like a pigtail. Is that what do they call it, a pigtail? So that's
yep,
essentially what it was.
yep, yeah. So I fell into a pigtail. So basically,
Which is
if you,
wild because weren't you? I thought you were ranked or seeded or something. And it's just like somehow you ended up in a pigtail.
I actually don't think I did get seeded that year because I lost to
Okay.
that kid at
Okay.
regionals. I mean, I had a good year before that, and then yeah, I lost him at regionals, and then they didn't seed me, so I ended up at a pigtail. And I mean, you win, you're on the front. If you lose, you're on the back. If you lose, you have to win another one, then you're on the back.
Right. Yeah. It's
So it's
crazy.
pigtails are a horrible place to be. I hated it a ton, but yeah, I ended up in that pigtail, and let's see, I lost my first round, won my second, and then I was drawn into the back, and then I made it to the Bloods, and then lost in the Bloods. So yeah, it was a pretty devastating year, but I mean,
Yeah.
we
And
battled
like
through it.
what makes it interesting is like you basically had to wrestle twice. So you lost and then won. And then you got into the bracket, like because it's a 16-man bracket. So, in college in D1 anyway, it's 33. So the pigtail's already there. So, but when they look at yours, it's 16, like yours are like up top and it's just like funky. So you like basically had to wrestle twice even to get on the backside. It's just
Yeah,
it's just
it
different.
sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks being in a pigtail. Yeah, yeah. I mean, because you're looking at I mean, technically it's an 18-man bracket, but
Yeah.
you funnel it down to that few of guys, even in Division II, like all those guys are good. You
Yeah.
know, you're not going to draw the 33rd seed first round and just go tech him. Like almost every guy, barring some, is pretty good at the Division
For sure.
II national tournament. So um, yeah, even those pigtails. That's why it sucks so much to get drawn into them, is because it's like, God, I'm gonna have to battle even to get on the front side of this bracket. So.
Yeah. And then not only that, now you lose. So now you lose and you're like, well, I'm not even in the tournament per se like you are, but you know, and now I'm not even gonna win a national title now. Already, boom, just like that, it's done. And now you still have to battle back just to even get in the bracket to place. Like it just could be a roller coaster, man.
Oh yeah, national tournaments just always a roller coaster of emotion for sure. That's one of the hardest things to do is to lose on the front side and just have your dreams crushed, and then 45 minutes later have to just pick it back up and go win. So it's one of the hardest things to do, and that's why guys that get third place at the national tournament, that's one of the hardest places to get. So yeah, definitely a lot of emotions that year, probably more than any of the others, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I guess what's the origin of your wrestling? I'm kind of curious where it all started. Your family wrestling, sort of. What's all that about?
Yeah. So the very start. So my dad was a wrestler in high school. He's from a small town in southern Nebraska. And he was a state finalist. He never went on to college to wrestle or anything. He's kind of just did it in high school. But I got an older brother, and I think it was when I was in like first grade. He asked my brother and I if we wanted to start wrestling, and we're like, yeah, we're two squirrely little kids, get some energy out. But that's how it all started here at the local program in Kearney. And then, my dad, he would always take us to like these small town tournaments. We never got serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
We wrestled maybe 10 to 15 matches a year. And that kind of lasted until I was probably in middle school. Then we started taking it just a little bit more serious, and we started going to national tournaments and stuff. And we started traveling a little bit more. And then when I got close to high school, some of the high school coaches kind of took a couple of us under their wing, and we would go to some more serious tournaments and stuff. And then we got into Kearney High, and we were blessed with some amazing coaches and a pretty full coaching staff. So it all kind of took off from there. But no, we didn't get serious about wrestling till probably middle school. When I started going on, middle school teams and stuff, and kind of finding my feet in wrestling. But before that, I wasn't doing a lot. It was kind of just a hobby, I guess. So.
Yeah. Did you have to log a lot of like windshield time, I guess, to get to bigger tournaments, to challenge yourself a little bit? Kearney is, kind of not in the middle of Nebraska. I know you were like right off of I-80, but like, there's not a lot of other big towns in your area, So
Yeah.
like Omaha is what, 2.5 away or something, or 2 hours, like Grand Island's 2 hours away or hour and a half, whatever. Like it's travel for you to get to these bigger places to get better competition,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely remember a lot of trips feeling like crap, cutting a bunch of weight, making it to big wrestling tournaments. But we're pretty lucky in Kearney. We at the college put on quite a few events here, and those were always pretty good competition for Nebraska. And when I was in, middle school, especially, I didn't go a ton of places and feel like I needed to be exposed to a lot. I was more state focused. Like my goal was to win a state title at the time, and I'd go to state here in Nebraska, and I'd go to some other, medium-sized tournaments. We'd travel to some bigger tournaments like in Kansas and Iowa and stuff, but we didn't get crazy. We weren't going to
Gotcha.
crazy tournaments. We kind of still stayed pretty local, but I guess I didn't really, even when I got, I want to say serious in like middle school, high school, it wasn't probably until my middle years of high school that I actually got serious and started going to like, junior duels in Fargo and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do like the sports circuit? I guess I've been calling it like baseball. Did you try basketball, football, cross country? Did you all like soccer, all that stuff?
Yeah, that was another part of it. I was pretty big into football, and even did like track and stuff back in those days. So I had a ton of other friends on other sports teams that I like to stay up with too. And I thought I was pretty serious about football, and then I never I never got taller than like 5'8", so it just didn't really work out,
Yeah.
So, I think I was I was like a middle linebacker to running back, and then it was,
There we go.
you get to high school and the guys get a little bit bigger, and then you don't. So it's like, oh, maybe I should just stick with wrestling then. So
Yeah. When did wrestling at the next level start to be like your focus or an idea that you're like, yeah, I think this is what I want to do at the next level?
you mean like, at the next level in high school?
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah. When did you when did you start to realize like I want to wrestle in college?
That actually took longer for me to realize, but like
Yeah.
I realized that I wanted to be a wrestler and more serious at wrestling probably in my first or second year of high school. Kind of when I realized that I could actually compete with like the better guys in the state, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, I took third as a freshman in Nebraska, and then after that year, it kind of took off, and I was like, okay, like I can actually compete with everybody and compete for a state title. And then I actually cut a bunch of weight my sophomore year. I think I was making 132 still, and yeah, I made 132 my first 2 years of high school, and my second year it was just like really hard for me to make, and I was doing it, I mean, week after week all year long. And I remember not even wanting to wrestle in college my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Uh, I was vocal about it. I told Coach Storm, I was like, I'm not wrestling in college. I hate this. I'm going to put my 4 years in high school and be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I mean, he never really made me cut much weight after that. So then I got happy. And it's probably my junior year after I won a state title. That's more when I wanted to wrestle in college, and I started getting looks from coaches from a couple of different schools. So the whole recruiting process definitely made me want to go more. And it was hard. It was hard to even say that I didn't want to wrestle in college to Jensen and Sorensen with a straight face. They've been coaching me for so many years. It's like, all right, I'll go wrestle for you.
Gosh, so you wrestled 132 as a freshman and a sophomore.
Yep.
How much weight were you cutting? I'm curious, when you got to college, because you wrestled 141, that's only
Yeah.
9 pounds, up. Like, was there a lot of fluctuation there when you cutting weight in college?
So, I mean, it was different too. Like when I was a sophomore in high school, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing cutting weight.
True. Yeah.
And I was probably cutting from just under 150, I would bet, in high school. And then, when I got to college, I got a lot better at managing my weight, and we had a lot of good resources at the school that kind of helped us figure out the right way to do it. So 141 actually got it was uncomfortable at the start of the year, but it got pretty easy for me later in the year every year. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still cutting a lot of weight. I was probably starting out the year, I don't know, just under 160. But, I mean, it came off pretty easy, and I got kind of in a comfortable spot, I guess. So it wasn't that bad. I was just not, like I said, I just was not smart about it at all in high school. I just didn't know what I was doing. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us really know in
No.
high school what we're doing. Trying to cut weight. Was there a particular food item or drink item, that like no matter what, I cannot get rid of this out of my diet? Like, I don't care. I will lose whatever else, but I'm always gonna have, like, let's say it's Mountain Dew, or something. Was there, or did you have something like? Is it okay?
I couldn't do that because like I had to be either super disciplined or not.
Oh, okay.
If I let myself kind of cut like a little bit, like if I got a little cheat, and like I would want more,
Yeah.
But my self-control, it's either discipline or my self-control just goes like out the window, So I remember like, you're sucked down and all you want is something to drink. And you're like, all right, I'm going to take a little tiny sip out of this, but I can't drink more than that. And then it's just like the bottom of the bottle. You drink as much as you can. Like that's how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I had to be super disciplined about it. Even through college, like I had to be kind of, right on the mark for sure.
Yeah.
So.
That you recognize that, that can be tough to realize that's your mentality,
Yeah.
Gee. How about this then? Was there something that like when you got done competing and you're like, all right, it's the off season, this is my first meal I'm gonna have? Did you have like that kind of mindset where like, gosh, second the season's done, I'm gonna go to Olive Garden or I'm gonna go to Cunningham's and get a cheeseburger or something?
I don't remember anything specifically, but I always had a list, like a note in my phone with like a list of things that I either wanted to go out and eat or I wanted my mom to make. Like every year I had like it was probably like 20 items long every year, and I don't remember getting to any of them because like I'd probably spend a week like indulging in who knows what, and then I'd be like, all this stuff looks like crap. It's all just like straight sugar and junk. And I'd look at it later on and I'd be like, what was I thinking? Like, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, after you kind of scratch that itch, and you're full and happy, you're like, all right, I'm good. I don't need any of that other stuff.
Yeah, that's how I remember going every single year. But
yeah. Speaking of Kearney, and you go into high school there, they qualify all 14 kids this year?
yeah, yep.
Jeez.
They always got a good high school team. I think they got tons of kids out every year. I think they start with like 80 kids.
Whoa, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they got, I don't know. Wrestling's popular in Kearney.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a big deal. The MatCat program has always been. We've always had a ton of kids in the MatCat program, and then I think we retained some of those kids, but I think it kind of gets popular again in high school. They always have a pretty successful team, and Ryan Bauer's the head coach now. He does a really good job with them. So, I think it's just part of it. High school sports is a cool thing to do sometimes. So they get a ton of kids out, and they do well with them. So they had a good year. Yeah, 14 kids is crazy. That's a good year for sure. So.
80 kids on a team is crazy. Did you have to cut it down into like practices? Like, did you have that many kids when you were on the team?
Yeah, we had a ton. We did a lot of 106 through 152 you're on, 160 and up you're off, stuff like that, or like groups of 3, one guy's out, 2 guys are wrestling. We had to do a lot of stuff like that where you either got one guy sitting out doing jumping jacks or you got a group out resting or something, So yeah, we had to split it up, and I think they got 3 full mats in that wrestling room, so it's a big wrestling room. But there was always a ton of kids. Scary you're gonna get hurt,
Right? Yeah,
someone's gonna roll over you or something. But we always made it work, I guess. So yeah.
So did you have just a varsity and a JV, or did you have kind of like a layered system where like did you have a freshman team?
Yeah, there were like 3 or 4 JVs. Like it was deep.
Really?
Yeah, we'd have wrestle-offs, and they'd be, I don't remember if they're 8-man brackets or what, but
seriously.
Yeah, it was serious. So
was it a big deal that you were a varsity wrestler as a freshman? Like, is that normal at a place like Kearney?
At the time, it wasn't really normal. No. I came up with Philip Mooney, who went to Cornell to wrestle. He was a 3-timer, so him and I were kind of like best buds back then, and we both made varsity as freshmen, and it was kind of a big deal at the time. I remember, because like like you said, like not a lot of freshmen were starters as freshmen. So yeah.
Yeah, Moomy. I remember watching him wrestle. Did he wrestle Teskey?
He wrestled Teskey, and then
at the Council Bluffs Classic.
Teskey wrestled Thompson in the finals.
Right.
Big deal at the time, yeah.
Right, because like he some controversy in that match. If I remember
There's some controversy, yeah.
So he was wrestling. I think he was wrestling Teskey. He was wrestling one of them, either one. But yes, that was the whole thing. Was like they were on a collision course. They were both undefeated, and they were gonna meet, and it was like inevitable. And all of a sudden, here comes Philip Mooney from Kearney, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, there was some a little controversy at the end or whatever, and I think Teskey ended up, or whoever, Thompson ended up pulling it out. But that was the first time I remember seeing Philip Mooney wrestle, and I was like, oh boy,
Yeah,
pay attention to this guy.
he was. I mean, even then, that was like the super match, and it was supposed to be a crazy big match with Thompson and Teskey. And I
Mhm.
mean, we were ready to go. We were like, don't count Moomy out.
Yeah,
We think he can definitely knock one of these guys off, and because he was solid at the time. And yeah, I just remember there being some maybe questionable back points or something. I don't know.
right.
Everybody wanted to see the Teskey Thompson match, probably even the refs. So
Yeah, and being from, maybe Thompson, maybe he had heard of Moomy because he's from Underwood, and that's just right across the border. But I mean, I would say the general population in Iowa probably had no idea who this Kearney kid was. That's who they thought, and they're like, whatever.
yeah,
So you guys probably, like you said, you probably had that little bit. Did you, I guess, excuse me, did you have that little chip on your shoulder just even wrestling Iowa teams, being from Nebraska, wrestling a team from Iowa, where you like, we got to show these boys how to wrestle or how we do things in Nebraska?
I don't think we really looked at it like that.
Yeah.
That one year we went in there, and I mean we were a top 50 team in the nation.
Wow,
Um,
really?
yeah, we had a really good team, and I think it was Lincoln East was also a top 50 team in the nation. So
No kidding.
we both rolled in there, and you know, we were pretty confident because we obviously had a really solid team, top to bottom. Um, but no, I don't think we ever looked at it state to state. But
Yeah.
I mean, we knew we could compete with all those guys. Mumi, I think he was at least a one-time champ. He might have won it a couple times. I made the finals twice, never won it. So we knew we could compete with them. But I mean, that was always a crazy good tournament.
Yeah.
That, and we went down to the Rocky Welton invite down in Garden City, Kansas. That was always really good when we were down there. I remember watching I think Wyatt Hendrickson wrestled down there one
No
year. Some
kidding.
guys like that, like guys when I was in high school. It was like these dudes are legit. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just a kid
Yeah.
from Nebraska. Like these guys are good.
I guess when did you start to think that and realize that you were pretty legit? Because obviously you are, and you are like both. Was there a point where you were like, yeah, put some respect on my name, basically?
No, not really. I mean, it was always just kind of a process for me of like when I got to high school, it was like, let's see if I can compete with these guys. And I'm like, okay, I can compete with these guys. Let's see who I can beat. And even in college, I remember it was the same way. Like I didn't come into college thinking I was going to set the world on fire. Obviously, I had aspirations to be a national champion. I think everybody should if you're going to go wrestle in college. But right when I was a freshman, I'd go in there and I'd get absolutely murdered by guys like Wesley Dawkins, who was a multiple-time All-American, guys around my weight that were really good. So I definitely never got too big for my britches. But I started beating some guys that I was like, okay, that guy's decent. That guy's a little bit better. Maybe I can do this. And then, you put together a full good year and then you become an All-American. And then you start to believe a little bit more and a little bit more. So no, it was never I never completely thought I was on top of the world, I guess. You just kind of put together good seasons and then you can look back one day and be like, all right, I did okay.
Yeah.
So it's definitely humbling when you're around so many other great guys. Like
Hmm.
the amount of times that I got beat up by your Matt Malcolms and stuff like that. It's like you think you're good, you might be okay, but there's always a bigger bear, I guess. And it definitely puts it in perspective when you're on a good team. So
Yeah. Did you ever give some beatings to Malcolm too?
no, no,
No. Yeah,
no,
you. Yeah.
no.
No. Come on, don't
He
be
was
modest. You
he
can you
was
can
like
be
three
honest
weight
here.
he was like three weights bigger than me, and probably 2 or 3 years older than I was. So he was like my big brother. And I'll never forget when I wasn't even a true freshman yet. I was maybe starting preseason or something. And it was a lift. It was just a lifting day. We weren't even going to wrestle. And Matt Malcolm grabs me, and I'd just met the guy. And he's like, hey, you and I, we're going to go wrestle for a while after this lift. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell national champion that I'm not going to go wrestle with him. We'll go wrestle for a while. So we started to drill for a little bit. And he was like, all right, we're going to go first to 25 live takedowns. And mind you, this is like preseason practice. I wasn't even expecting to wrestle. And I'm like, all right, we'll go first to 25 takedowns. I kind of thought he was kidding. So I thought we'd get to like 10, and then he'd be like, all right, we're done.
Mhm.
No, we weren't done. He proceeded to like murder me, and we wrestled for like an hour and a half, and he took me down 25 times. And yeah, I left with like my tail between my legs for sure. you know, so that was like my welcome into college. But no, Malcolm was a great dude for me to have around. He taught me a lot. So.
Did you ever ask him why he did that?
No, that was just the norm back then. That was like your welcome into college, and I mean it was probably the best thing for me. Walking in maybe a little bit cocky for a freshman, and you just get beat down. Like it definitely puts it into perspective where you're at right away. And I mean, you start at the bottom and you earn respect on your way up. That's just kind of how college wrestling works, So.
Yeah. Did you feel prepared then as a redshirt freshman to go in? Because you did, you All-American as a freshman. We talk about how you're a freshman place winner and varsity spot, holder at Kearney, which was tough. Being at UNK, a Division II program that's really good, and you're a freshman and you're an All-American. I mean, that's good stuff too there. Did you feel prepared, ready, the whole 9 yards of your first year?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I did. Like I said, I had a lot of good guys around me, and we had a really good team that year too. We were also trying to win a national title. We lost by 1.5 points that year to St. Cloud State. So there was definitely a lot of team aspect to that too. And I think you always wrestle better, as a team trying to win a title. But I had a lot of really good guys around me that lifted me up. And maybe I wasn't probably the most confident going into that tournament. But, I just wrestled really, really hard and kind of tried to do the best I could. And it just so happened that I was on the podium that year. So I don't know if I really was aware of what could happen. Or what my expectation was at the time. But I do remember when it was all said and done, like I was a little bit surprised, but also just kind of proud of where I was after that first year. I walked in as a redshirt freshman and got on the podium. So I was happy with that. And it was kind of just a stepping stone to where I thought I could have gone, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you look back at your career as a whole, are you pretty proud of what you accomplished? Obviously, like there's probably still some pain from falling a little bit short and maybe not accomplishing everything that you wanted to. But I mean, is there still, a big sense of pride for what Nick James did accomplish throughout his wrestling career? Thus far, I should say, because obviously there sounds like there's a coaching aspect that's going to come, but competing wise,
Yeah, I would say so. Definitely proud. And, I kind of try to remind some of the younger guys this too, is like, I'm not necessarily proud of any accolades or anything like that, or any finishes I had at tournaments. Like I learned a lot about myself throughout college, and, just some of the stuff we went through in practice, and, some of the things I had to figure out on my own. Like that's kind of what made college wrestling important for me. Like I loved just going into the room and scrapping and just either getting beat up or beating somebody up. Like that was what I lived for in college. And I think that probably did way more for me than any tournament ever did. Like I had to figure out, how to make the right choices all the time, how to make myself the best version I could physically and mentally. And that changes you forever. So that was probably the biggest part of college wrestling that I'm proud of, is just kind of who it made me become rather than, what I ever accomplished, and that might sound a little bit cliche, but like I really do mean that. Like I don't really look back and look at, the accolades or whatever. Maybe I did accomplish, but it's more what I took with me when I left, honestly. So.
Yeah. And I think that what what's even more astonishing on top of that is, again, because you're from there, and you could have easily at any point went home to mom and dad, like you could have found comfort and solace at your home, but it sounds like you did the hard thing, and you found out who you were on your own, like I said, you very easily could have just went back and talked to your mom and dad about, which, no shame if you do and you do talk to them, but it just would have been easier because you were so close, but you were able to basically, mold yourself into this person. Obviously, they probably helped and you talked to them, through this, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, uh, Coach Jensen always reminded us throughout the years, it's like, this is your career, and you're going to, I mean, he basically says, this is your career. We're not going to hold your hand through it. We're here to help you. He says, we're here to help you, but you're adults. And you got to rely on each other, and you got to make your own decisions. And I mean, I really bought into that, I think. And, you know, I think that's a good way of looking at it. He treated us like adults throughout the whole process. And some guys couldn't handle that. Maybe some
yeah,
guys left a lot on the table that they could have used to accomplish things that were great. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, it made a lot of good men. Just the process of that, and buying into that, and making your own choices, and deciding to go work out extra and do hard things, and kind of do what you felt like you needed to be successful. Like, I think that molded a lot of us into better people than we started or began with. So yeah.
yeah. Did you have a difficult time juggling school and sports, wrestling, and maybe you did intramurals? I don't know, maybe you did intramural dodgeball or something, but did you have a hard time juggling those, being a
Not
student
really.
athlete? No, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't ever remember a time that it was like too stressful to get all my stuff done. You know,
Yeah.
I my program wasn't extremely difficult, so I mean, I was in the library quite a bit, but no more than anybody else, I guess. So
And do they don't do like trimesters, do they, or whatever? Like, are the classes like a full semester? Like Upper Iowa, for instance, I think their classes are like 12 weeks, 8 weeks,
yeah, they're
so,
just 2 semesters.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And that's what's nice about D2, and D3 and these other schools, like, um, the smaller class sizes, the more intimate setting with the teachers, you know, um, it really works for a lot of people. Did you ever think about going D1 at any point?
um, I actually I talked to Nebraska briefly
Mhm.
my junior year of high school, um, but it didn't really work out. Like, I think I was going to go on a visit, and that's about the time I got hurt. And we kind of just stopped talking, and then it was pretty obvious where I wanted to go after that. So I
Yeah.
considered it for a while, but I honestly think that Division II is probably a better fit for me. Um, I spent a lot of time like working and stuff too. At the same time, I was competing, which
Really?
yeah, I mean, obviously all summer I would work, and then when we started our own company, like, I was working quite a bit still, and kind of juggling that in school and wrestling all at once, which at the end of the day I actually think kind of helped me, because I kind of had something over here to take my mind off of wrestling. Like, it wasn't just wrestling all the time, and I was busy, but it was kind of a good busy, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Aside from work, what else did you do to take a break from wrestling? Um, Gosh, it'd be such a grind, especially at the college level. Like, I can attest to it. I wasn't able to do it, um, but just doing this and talking to people, like, God, it's a grind, man. And so you need to be able to take a step back. Some people love it and they're just like, nope, I'll just wrestle all day, every day. But for you, did you have something to, besides work, again, to
Yeah, right.
relax, just fucking take a break?
Yeah, there were a couple years where I was just completely obsessed with it, and that's like all I did. But
Yeah.
there were a couple years where like me and my buddies got super into hunting in the winter time.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'd go hunt. We would do some thermal hunting, like coyote hunting. So it was kind of fun. We'd do that during the winter. And like if we had a weekend off, we'd go do that the whole time. And it was also kind of nice. Like it just kept my thought off of cutting weight too.
Yeah.
It got me out of the house. We do stuff like that quite a bit. But that was probably second thing to just completely get away for a while. So.
Does either Sorensen or Jensen do they put their shoes on every once in a while and see what they got left in the tank or?
Yeah.
All
Sorensen
right.
is still actually this is my biggest flex still is Jensen claims that I retired him. So
really?
That's the badge on my chest. I'm gonna carry that with me forever. He said that at the banquet when I was a senior. He said he doesn't really wrestle anymore. He gives me the credit for retiring him. So Sorensen, he still gets after it. He's still a beast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He looks like it.
Yeah, he can be a scary dude sometimes for sure. So.
Really? A scary dude? Huh. Really?
Yeah. I mean, he's scary to wrestle sometimes for sure.
Yeah.
Why is that? He wanted to turn it on still, like he could. At least for me, he could really tear me up. So.
Yeah. But Jensen's he's out of gas, you think?
He's the tricky guy. He's got a big bag of tricks still, but no, he'll get you
okay.
if you're not careful. Yeah, he's definitely the trickster though. He'll do the lefty headlock or something if you're not careful.
Because he has to. That's why. He has to, because he can't do the things he used to. He knows that he can't take you down like he used to, if he was your age or, 10 years ago. Now he has to be a little slicker, he has to do those things.
Yeah, they're definitely old man tricks. I think if he really wanted to, he probably could still do his old stuff, but, it's easier just to lefty headlock and throw guys and stuff for sure. So.
Yeah. Is there something that you developed in college like that? Because when, at least for us or for me, like in high school, we did focus more solely on like the takedowns, the single leg high crotch. But in college, some people develop a nice little toss or a throw or a lat drop. Did you ever develop anything like that?
Yeah, I actually had something kind of coming into college. I was big on like double overs, and I'd step to the side and kind of, hook the leg and stuff. I watched Destin McCauley do it in the national finals when I was in high school. And
yes.
That was the coolest thing ever. So I started doing it actually pretty early in high school, and then it kind of just developed throughout my career. But that was my little trick. It's like I would let guy get single leg, and then I'd pop down, go double overs, and try to throw you.
He hit that to win a national title, didn't he?
Yep. The year he won it, he did that.
Yes.
I think it was in the last period. I think I don't remember if he got the ball or not, but he.
No,
Yeah, he did
I don't think so. But you're right. I'm pretty sure he did that in the last 15 seconds to win it.
Yeah, stuck with me ever since then. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I had him on. He was one of the first big ones that I was like really. I'm excited for everyone I have on, but because when we were growing up, I'm 33, and so he was a little bit older, or he was around my age. Gosh, he was like a myth almost. I mean, he was the real freaking deal, man. And so when we saw Destin, we were like, oh my gosh, he was supposed to be. Not saying that he didn't accomplish some big things, but I mean, he was a 5-timer in Minnesota. He was this close to being a 6-timer. I mean, yeah.
He was a dude for sure.
Yeah.
He actually spent some time coaching us. So when he was at UNK, we were in high school, maybe even middle school. I can't remember, but he was one of our coaches
no
back
kidding.
then. Yeah, so I mean, I learned a bunch from that guy too. He was just a book of knowledge when it came to wrestling. He knew
Yeah.
so much about wrestling and positioning and technique and stuff. Like he taught us a ton. So yeah. But,
Yeah. So, are you officially done, retired, like Nick James, shoes on the mat?
yeah.
Okay.
Unless if we could find what would be a 7th year. I think I got hurt once, so I don't know. Maybe we can apply for medical or something. Yeah, no, I'm like completely done. Unless if they release a new rule or something, we're done.
No
So
freestyling or
no, no, I don't really have any desire to freestyle much or anything. Maybe if a couple years if I really get the itch, but I doubt it.
yeah.
So no, I'm done. I'm excited to kind of like really sink into my coaching role now.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I really enjoy coaching. I think it's a whole different dynamic than competing, obviously, and I think I enjoy it probably as much, if not better, than competing. So I'm excited for that, and I try and kind of still do some things for all of Kearney wrestling and try to help out some high schoolers from Kearney and around the area, and maybe some youth guys here every once in a while. So it's kind of nice for me just to be able to do some of that stuff too. So
Yeah. Is there a level that you're most intrigued by that you want to coach?
yeah, I'll stick with the college
Okay.
for the time being. That's my plan right now. I'm I think officially back on staff. I should probably check with Coach Jensen, but
You probably should.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, we've had it, but yeah, no, I'll stick with the college I mean, as of right now for the time being. But that's definitely while still in this mindset. I want to do as much with those guys as I can, kind of while I'm still young. Still wrestle with those guys here and there. And then you never know what could happen in the future. But yeah, I feel like I want to do everything I can for all of Kearney wrestling. Kind of give back a little bit. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know what more you can do. They're freaking well-oiled machine out there. I guess, the next thing they need to do is like ultimately get to the top, but I mean, holy cow, they are tough.
yeah, Kearney is blessed. I mean, we have everything you need to be a good wrestling team at the high school and college level. We got great community support. We have amazing coaches through every level. I mean, you have uh, great guys at the high school. We got college guys in there ex-college guys that help with the high school, and then obviously our great coaching staff at UNK. So, um, from top to bottom, we're pretty lucky in Kearney. So even at the youth level, Billy Higgins, a couple time All
Oh
American,
yeah, yeah.
helping the youth.
Heavyweight.
So, yeah, he was 84 pounder.
Oh, who am I thinking of that was the heavyweight? Heather, no, Harrington.
Harrington, yep, he's a
Yeah.
Kearney boy
Okay.
too.
Yep.
He
Yep.
helps
Okay.
out with the high school
Higgins,
and college
Harrington.
stuff
Sorry.
too. Yep. So yeah, we got all sorts of guys sticking around and helping out. So yeah, Kearney wrestling isn't going anywhere. So
Spread the wealth, man.
yeah,
Just keeping everyone there for yourselves.
yeah. Kearney's a
Hell.
great community. It's hard to leave for anybody. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and they built that new facility.
yeah.
I mean, come on. Like,
We were in there a couple
wow.
days ago. It's awesome. It's huge.
Yeah.
I think they have on only half of it. They have 8 basketball courts. So yeah, it's going to be a really cool place to hold all of our events now, and yeah, it'll be pretty sweet. So
Dang. Last question here before you let you go. What was it like to wrestle in the national tournament, having that team title wrapped up so quickly? Like, obviously the goal is to win the title, but and you want things to fall into place, but my God, you guys just got out so fast and so furious. I mean, it was over. I mean, you never want to count your chickens before they hatch, but I mean, geez, that thing was over before the first day was over, essentially. I mean, you guys were out in front by like 30 points, just like that, you know?
Yeah, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
We were, after the first day, we took a look at it as a whole, and yeah, you can't be complacent at all. We were in a really good spot, but the conversations were like, we can't let our foot off the gas. Tomorrow's, a different day. We just got to keep doing the same thing. And I mean, we did. We had a great first round that second day too. So yeah, it was awesome. It's a sweet feeling when things start falling right. Those pieces start falling into place. It's pretty sweet. We've had it go the other way too. So it's a really good feeling, and I was fortunate enough to experience it twice with 2022 and 2025. Yeah, you bet, right there. Heck yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. From top to bottom, we had a really good effort from everybody, and a lot of those guys come back, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, except for you. Apparently, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know yet.
Be back in a collar.
Gosh, yeah, what a way to end it. Like you set out to achieve that goal, and for the longest time, like I think it was 2013 was the prior time. I think 2022, and then before that was 2013. I think, you were always right there. And then to get over the hump, and then to duplicate it a couple years later. I mean, must have been just a fucking sweet feeling,
Yeah,
I don't know how else to put it.
It was pretty sweet. 2022, I mean, it was incredible. We had a great team in 21, and that's the year we lost by 1.5 points. And so that was like
Devastating.
It was pretty devastating, but I mean, we didn't put it in our hands. We didn't have anybody in the finals. I mean, so it was kind of a crappy year, but I think we sat down after that, and it was a conversation of like, all right, like, let's get everybody back. Let's do it again. And so we had a ton of experience, and that year was really, really cool. I mean, like you said, we hadn't won it since 2013. So that had been the conversation since I got to college. It was like, we're going to win a national title. It's going to be super sweet. And yeah, that's like the only thing we could think about, talk about. So when it finally happened, it was kind of just like such an aha moment. And I mean, it's hard to describe really. And we got back to town, and it was just such a celebration. So yeah, then you go to a couple years later. I mean, and it was a different team. We didn't have as much experience as we did that year in 2022, but it was kind of just a bunch of guys that like to scrap, which was awesome in a different way,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was also a sweet year this year, and I was super fortunate to be involved with it for sure. So
yeah. Yeah, the last thing I'll say to you here is, I don't know if you know this, so I'm going to let you know about it. But Malcolm, when he texted me, he was like, I think it would be cool if you could, maybe you might want to talk to this guy named Nick James. Obviously I know who you were, but he said, he's like, I don't know if he knows this, but he is literally my best friend in the world. And I'm so proud of him for stepping up.
yeah,
He said, I feel for him, because this was right after D2. So he was like, I feel for him, but I'm so proud for him for stepping up. So I just thought I'd share that with you, that he thinks that highly. I don't know if he's ever said that to you, but,
yeah.
I just think that's cool, that there's, so just wanted to pass that along, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, Matt's one of my best friends. I was at his wedding, and yeah.
Oh, really?
We're tight. Yeah. He moved away from me, but
yeah,
we
he did.
We still stay close, and yeah, he's one of my best buds for sure. So